and the just government of men and women, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have called to the performance of important trust in these islands. Father, let your blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of these islands and of those whose interest you have committed to our charge. And this we beg in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen. Please be seated. Item number 2 on the order of paper, confirmation of minutes, 13th and 18th of December. Vice President Kieran Bell, you have the floor.
Madam President, I move that the minutes of the meetings of Wednesday, December 13th and Monday, December 18th, 2023 be taken as read.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Madam President, I move that the minutes of Wednesday, December 13th and Monday, December 18th, 2023 be confirmed.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. The minutes are confirmed. Thank you, Senator Kieran, Vice President Kieran Bell. Item number 3, messages.
No messages, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Sumner. Item number 4, reports of committees. There are none. Item number 5, announcements. Senators, we have apologies from Senator Douglas DeCuta and Senator Leslie Robinson, who are both off island. We now have announcement. Oh, there are 2 announcements in the name of Senator Leslie Robinson, the Junior Minister for Economy, who is, as I said, overseas. And so these will be presented by Senator Ariana Hudson. Senator Hudson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning.
Good morning.
I hereby present for the information of Senate the National Training Board Report 2019 to 2023 and the procedural guidance for determining what constitutes work regularly performed to a substantial degree pursuant to the Employment, Protection of Employee Tips, and Other Gratuities Amendment Act 2023.
Thank you, Senator Hudson. Item number 6, notices of motion. There are none. Item number 7, petitions. There are none. Item number 8, statements. We have 2 statements, and that's in the name of Senator the Honorable Owen Darrell, Minister of Tourism and Culture and Sport for the first one, and the second one is Culture Equals Energy. Minister Darrell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam President, summer day camps often provide fun, enriching experiences for both campers and staff. Working at a summer day camp can be incredibly rewarding, offering the opportunity to make a positive impact on children's lives, build lasting friendships with colleagues, and have lots of fun in the process. Madam President, the government of Bermuda's annual Summer Day Camp program, now in its 53rd year, is seeking enthusiastic, fun-filled, and hardworking individuals for various positions. With around 180 positions available, the program hosts hundreds of young people across multiple camp locations from east to west. For individuals passionate about working with children and seeking practical experience in this field, this opportunity with Bermuda's Summer Day Camp program provides a valuable platform for personal and professional growth. Positions available include supervisors, assistant supervisors, counselors, specialists in areas as dance, art, and sport, as well as paraeducators to work with students with exceptionalities. This employment opportunity is particularly beneficial for those studying or interested in the field of education. Many young people pursue studies in education, intending to become teachers, and this program offers hands-on experience that complements their academic pursuits. The department would like to inform Madam President that applicants must be in their 18th year and above to apply for positions within the Summer Day Camp program. Additionally, candidates must hold valid CPR and first aid as well as SCARS certifications. The program prioritizes providing opportunities for students studying in the fields of education or humanities to gain practical experience in their respective field. Interested individuals who wish to be a part of the team or want to know more about the positions available are encouraged to visit our online platform at www.sdcjobs.bm and to apply. The deadline for all applications is Friday, March 22nd, 2024. Madam President, I understand that many parents are eagerly awaiting information about registration for their children to actually attend these summer day camps. We are actively working on finalizing the logistics with the venues and will provide an update soon regarding the registration process. This year, Madam President, we are also diligently working on an initiative to address the wait list that occurs every year for our highly popular Summer Day Camp program. We aim to assist in alleviating the stress of finding a safe and affordable summer services for their children. The department plans to expand the availability of public summer day camps, as well as collaborate with private camp operators to secure additional spaces. Thank you for your patience and understanding as we ensure a smooth and enjoyable experience for all participants in the Summer Day Camp program. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Minister Darrell. When you're ready, you can proceed with your second statement.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, today marks 100 days remaining until the 2024 Bermuda Day Parade. Preparations have already begun across the island to ensure that costumes are ready, the floats are designed, and the dance steps are on point for this beloved celebration of all things Bermudian. Madam President, you'll recall my announcement of the Heritage Month theme in November, which was Culture Equals Energy. This theme speaks not only to the amazing momentum created by last year's parade, where participants and spectators alike danced and celebrated in the torrential rain, but also encapsulates the vibe of a holiday that many of us love above all others. Madam President, as part of building that energy in the lead up to the Bermuda Day holiday, the Department of Culture is providing a behind-the-scenes peek into parade preparation. For those of you who have followed the department on social media, you will see weekly content showing what this year's participants are doing to get ready for the big day. Madam President, I'd like to remind the public that last year was the first time that participants were able to benefit from the Bermuda Day Fund, which was established to help offset essential parade costs, such as truck rentals, float building materials, as well as costumes. Thanks to the generosity of corporate and individual donors, every group that applied in 2023 was able to receive assistance. Madam President, as the minister responsible for culture, I would like to encourage the corporate sector to support these community groups by donating to this fund. The Bermuda Day Parade is an event that brings together the entire community to celebrate our culture and identity. It is an event which is not possible for the department to execute without community participation. For this reason, it's so important for us to help lower the financial barriers for entering the parade, especially that several of these groups operate as charities. Anyone wishing to support these participants can visit the Bermuda Community Foundation website at www.givebermuda.org/Bermuda Day Fund. Madam President, participating in the Bermuda Day Parade is an opportunity to be an integral part of something truly special. It is a day that promises to be a celebration of our diverse cultural tapestry. With a sign-up deadline fast approaching of April 19th, I urge our cultural groups, schools, performers, businesses, charities, and other government departments to seize this chance to showcase the vibrant colors of our collective heritage. For information on entry categories and sign-up forms, please visit the department's website at www.culture.bm. As a reminder, groups that wish to be considered for sponsorship through the Bermuda Day Fund must submit their applications on time, no later than Friday, April 19th. Madam President, participation matters. This parade is our canvas. Participating in the Bermuda Day Parade is not just an individual act, it's a collective expression of who we are as a community. Let's make the 24th of May, 2024, a day to remember, a day when we collectively celebrate the kaleidoscope of our heritage. Together, let's make our community parade a resounding success. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Minister Darrell. Moving on with our orders of the day. Sorry, our agenda. Item number 9, introduction of bills. There are none. Item number 10, the first reading of public bills. Senators, the following public bill has been received from the House of Assembly and is now read for the first time. Its title is the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024. And members, this bill will be taken up on our orders of the day later this morning. Item number 11, first reading of private bills. There are none. Item number 12, question and question period. Senators, we will now entertain questions from the two statements that were given by Minister Darrell this morning. The first being the summer employment opportunities. Would any senator care to speak on this statement? Senator Tucker, opposition leader in the Senate, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning to my Senate colleagues, and to the listening public. My question for the minister is really just in relation to whether there are any specific needs that the department is looking for to support the students in their. So, what I'm trying to ask is whether the students that are studying in any particular discipline will be sort of favored, if I can use that word, over others because of needs that they may have within the after school care program. So just looking at whether there's going to be any matching for those particular for students that have specific needs when they're looking at staffing the summer program. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Robin Tucker, opposition leader. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? Hearing none, we'll ask questions on this bill. Sorry. We'll wait for the minister to respond.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me try to answer this the best I can, and I have not received a response back from the department, but that is something that I will take back to them in my next meeting, and I will get the answers. But I think what the statement was saying is that sometimes when individuals hear that it is a summer day camp, they just think that it's, just all playtime. And I can tell you that as an educator for 15 years, former educator for 15 years, there was a time, one summer, 2 summers, that I actually did participate as an assistant supervisor in the summer day camp program. And then the following year, I think I went to a private camp, and I was a supervisor for that. So the skill sets that a education major or someone even in close to that field will get at the summer day program is immense. And the reason why I put it in the statement is because you may not think that the skills of a summer day camp would be able to translate to an educator who's going into a teaching proper position. So it's just out there to make them aware that, hey, you can actually come back in the summer when school is out and get some valuable experience in your field. Um, one second. Um, there are some specific needs, individuals that um, always are what we call them PE teachers. Always a need for PE teachers because some of the camp activities are full of recreational programs. Um, if you have a background in sailing, that will be beneficial. If you have a background in swimming, that will be beneficial. And I know Senator Bell would love this one. If you have an interest in pickleball, that will be beneficial. This one may surprise people because it is summer day camp. But if you have um, some background in math, that will be beneficial, and also dance. So, although we don't have a list of specifically what we are targeting, if you just look at some of the activities that we do in summer day camp, a lot of these will be needed, and you'd be surprised at the individuals, current educators as well, that are actually supervisors in the summer day program, and some of them have been doing it for many, many years. It's very beneficial not only to the experience that anyone entering the field will need, but it's beneficial for the campers themselves to have that type of structure going throughout the summer. So I hope that answers your question. I will get a further detailed response to if they are looking for something specific. I'll probably bring an updated statement closer to the 19th of April, or maybe even further, because sometimes, as it gets closer to the summer, we are looking to fill a couple of holes here or there. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Darrell.
Thank you to the minister for answering that question, Madam President. It does make me want to ask a second question, if I may. And that question is, while I recognize that the children are out during the summer, they're looking to have fun and all of that type of thing, right? Which they should. They're children. But I also wonder whether, because during COVID, a lot of the children have some learning challenges and there are gaps, and which the schools are doing their best to try to close those gaps. But I'm also wondering whether there are any of the summer teachers and facilitators will be hired based on specifically already identified needs where they can help to further close those gaps. I don't know if it's something they've considered, but I'm just wondering if that was a consideration and if that's in play. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Tucker, for your second question. Minister Darrell.
I understand what the senator is asking. However, that piece of the puzzle, I would say, will definitely fall under the Ministry and Department of Education. They have an extensive summer school plan. They identify students towards the end of the year that may benefit from summer school. I know summer school runs almost simultaneously to summer day camp. So it's important to recognize that although the overall enrichment and development of the child is important, my ministry and the Department of Sport and Recreation focuses on exactly that, recreation. And the Department and Ministry of Education, and I will not dare speak for my colleague, but I'm sure you will be hearing closer to the time more about the plans that the education has for that part of enriching the student. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Minister Darrell. And thank you, Senator Tucker, for your questions. Now, senators, we will entertain questions on the second statement that was delivered on culture equals energy, and that was delivered by the Minister Owen Darrell. Would any senator care to speak on this bill, on this statement? Sorry. Senator Tucker, opposition leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. My question to the minister is there a maximum amount of funding that is available to each of the applicants? Um, so is there a maximum amount of funding that comes out of the Bermuda Fund that is available to the those that qualify? Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Tucker. You wait, sorry. I did thank her, so it's over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Madam
address the
President.
question.
Sorry, I was just waiting for the direction. Um, so what we do is, and you would have heard in the statement, I was very specific as to indicating that a group would not be able to apply for funding until they have applied to be in the parade. So last year we had, I think, about 10 um, applicants that applied. And what we did is we waited as long as we could for the fund to see what we had in the fund. And then we were able to pretty much just divide what we had in the fund based on the amount of people that we had. So I think last year we had about $20,000. And I think, and I'm just rough off my head, we had, and I can get the exacts for you. We had about 10 groups that applied. So each group got, I think, $2,000 towards their participation and getting ready. So we exhausted the entire fund to the groups that applied. So there was no maximum set. Last year, I think everyone got equal. Um, Actually, I am getting a word from the department that there was a set that there was 2,500 maximum per group. Um, I know last year we whatever we got, we divided it by the amount of groups. So yeah, 2,500
Thank you, Minister
maximum
Darrow.
set.
Thank you.
You have
But I will say this, and I want to say this one more time.
Okay.
Funding is and always will be dependent on the amount that we actually receive from the community.
Thank you, Senator Minister Darrow, for that clarification.
Thank you.
Senator Tucker, you have a second question?
Yes, I do, Madam President. Thank you. So I would like to know from the minister, during the application process, are the applicants required to say how much money they are actually looking to get support from the fund? And again, my question is really coming from a place of, if the entity needs $1,500, then if they're getting $2,500, then you know they're getting more than what they need. I do recognize that the preparing for the parade and all of that is quite an undertaking. I've been a part of one before, but again, this statement does mention the fact that a lot of these participants are charities. So if they have needs, sorry, if they have some funding or if they're getting funding from other places, just want to know sort of what the guardrails are that are in place to ensure that those that are receiving the maximum amount of funding actually need the maximum amount of funding. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Tucker. Would any other senator care to speak on the statement?
I would,
Senator
Madam
Robinson.
President. Thank you so
Dwayne
much.
Robinson, you have the floor.
Good morning to my colleagues and to the minister. Just two pretty quick ones. Number one is, how are the signups? Have we seen any signups yet? I know it's early, but just want to make sure, when I bring my chair out, that I'm got a good bit of people to see come across. So just wanted to know the update on how the signups are. Are we looking at like we're going to be on par with last year or exceeding last year? And also just how many people this year, if any, have applied for the fund so far? Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Robinson. Opposition. Member. Did any other senator want to speak on this? Care to speak on this statement? No, then we'll hear from the minister.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll go to the first question from the opposition Senate leader. As part of the application process or the request for funding, all groups are required to give a full budget breakdown as part of that application. Also, part of their application, they're also have to give how many individuals are in their group, so we can then look at it and determine how we are going to assist. And you're absolutely right that, depending on how much money we get in, some groups may get, the max 2,500, and some groups may get 500. I know there was a group last year that simply asked for, water. I'm not sure how much water they they needed last year, but um, it comes in different varieties. Some ask for water. Some say, "Listen, we're good. Our charity is fine." However, and remember, it's um, it's intended to offset the cost, not to underwrite the entire cost. So, many groups, what you see a lot of is truck rentals. And I must say this: the business will donate the truck, but you have to pay for the individual to drive the truck. It's a public holiday. It's a heavy piece of machinery, and you want to pay the individual to drive it. So that's where the charity may come, or the group may say, hey, listen, we've got the truck donated, and we'll see all of that in the budget. We've got the truck donated. We've got water donated. We've fundraised for our uniforms, but we need to pay the driver or whatever that is for the day, and that all part of participation. So my senator over there will be able to pull out his chair and enjoy the parade. um Give me a so Senator Robinson asks for signups. So signups at this time are on par right now with what they are in previous years. There are some um, organizations that are going to be in the parade no matter what, so they will they will sign up or declare their interest, long before the actual application comes out. I have been receiving emails and text messages, and that's how Bermuda is. People just trying to get in touch with me and say, well, how do I go about the process? So that is one of the reasons why I decided to highlight the application process today, get people excited. Listen, we are, working this far in advance of Bermuda Day, so that you can go in. And I will challenge Senator Robinson, as I know he is an influential member of his party, along with the Senate leader of the One Bermuda Alliance. I expect to see the sign up of a particular organization that they are part of in the Bermuda Day Parade this year. How about that, Madam President?
You threw another challenge.
But yes, just to also tag onto that, just for information, and I'm giving open information to here so everyone knows, and it's actually a learning experience as well as how much money these groups actually put into preparing for this parade. Groups budget sometimes were approximately somewhere from $5,000 to $15,000, depending on how large the group is, how many uniforms they get, or whatnot. So even if you are not, and I hope everyone would, putting into the Bermuda Day Fund, if you see, and I'll throw out my friends group here, Tawana Lee and the PHC majorettes having a car wash at your local gas station. Stop by and support them, even if you don't need your car washed. But those funds go to preparing for the parade, so that, like Senator Robinson and everyone, we can sit and enjoy the parade on May 24th this year. Thank you, Madam
Ms.
President.
Darrell. All questions have been responded to, Ms. With that said, then, oh, sorry, I was looking to you if you had another question, Senator Robinson. No. With that said, then, we've finished the questions on the statements that have been given. We now move on to item number 13 on our orders of the day, and that is the second reading of the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024, and that's in the name of Senator Ariana Hudson, the Junior Minister of Finance. And Senator Hudson, when you're ready, You can proceed. I would just like to acknowledge two gentlemen from the Monetary Authority who are here this morning. Welcome to you, both of you in the chamber. Senator Hudson, when you're ready, you can begin.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I move that the provisions of Standing Order 25 be granted so that the Senate may now proceed with the second reading of the bill entitled the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024.
Is there any objection to that motion? No.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill entitled the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to the second reading? No objection. Carry on, Senator Hudson.
Madam President, I am pleased to present the bill entitled the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024 to the Senate. The main purpose of the bill is to introduce enhancements to the Investment Business Act 2003 to modernize the oversight of investment exchanges and clearinghouses, which is supervised by the Bermuda Monetary Authority. The bill also contains a small number of other changes, mainly to clarify aspects of the framework changes for regulation of investment business firms, which were approved by the legislature in 2022. Madam President, Bermuda's financial services sector is subject to the regulation and supervision of the authority, which was established in 1969 under the Bermuda Monetary Authority Act 1969. The Act vests the authority with powers to license or register and supervise persons carrying on investment business in or from Bermuda and to pursue corrective action as necessary to maintain a safe and sound environment. The Act, within Part 4, also provides a framework for the authority to recognize and supervise investment exchanges and clearinghouses operating in Bermuda in a manner proportionate with the nature, scale, and complexity of those operations and the risks they pose to the jurisdiction. Madam President, the governing framework for the authority's supervision of investment businesses derives in large measures from core principles issued by the International Organization of Securities Commissions. The authority incorporates the principles throughout the framework, duly taking into account the specific nature of the investment business market in Bermuda. The Senate is reminded that the authority has been a member of IOSCO since the 6th of June 2007. The Senate is advised that the IOSCO core principles require a relevant regulatory authority to frequently review the manner in which securities regulation is carried out in its market. Framework review and consultation. Madam President, as previously indicated, the majority of changes being proposed in this bill pertain to oversight of recognized bodies, which is addressed under Part 4 of the Act. The changes represent the final phase of a multi-year modernization of the Act, which commenced in 2021. Members are also reminded that the authority first sought to enhance supervision of investment businesses through amendment of the Act in 2022, with express intention to update regulatory requirements for recognized bodies thereafter. Madam President, the authority commenced the initiative to update the framework for recognized bodies by reviewing the current framework against relevant international standards, including those established by IOSCO. Madam President, the need for effective and appropriate oversight of investment exchanges and clearinghouses is underscored throughout principles promulgated by IOSCO. Specifically, Principle 9 of the IOSCO Principles of Securities Regulation establishes an expectation for financial regulators to create, implement, and maintain appropriate oversight frameworks for self-regulatory organizations, a general classification within which investment exchanges and clearinghouses typically fall. To meet this objective, related standards emphasize the need for financial regulators to retain comprehensive inspection, investigation, and surveillance powers, and ensure that regulatory frameworks facilitate the credible and effective use of such powers. Madam President, the principles for financial market infrastructures, which were also developed by OSCO in collaboration with the Bank for International Settlements to guide the oversight of investment exchanges, clearinghouses, and other market intermediaries, establish expectations for, among other things, A, public disclosure of the criteria used to identify financial market infrastructures that are to be subject to regulation, supervision, and oversight. B, establishment of adequate powers for regulators consistent with their relative responsibilities, including the ability to obtain timely information and to enforce corrective action when necessary, and to clear definition and disclosure by regulators of their policies regarding financial market infrastructures, including their objectives, roles, and regulations. Madam President, following assessment of the existing framework in context of both sets of principles, the authority developed the proposals being presented today, which are designed to achieve a modern and more appropriate regulatory framework for oversight of investment exchanges and clearinghouses. Madam President, it should be noted that proposals were pre-consulted with key stakeholders, the Bermuda Stock Exchange, Bermuda's only recognized body, first in December 2022, and again more comprehensively in mid-2023 once the proposals had been fully developed. Following pre-consultation, the authority issued a consultation paper in September 2023 entitled Proposed Amendments for the Regulation of Investment Exchanges and Clearinghouses and Other Additional Changes to the Investment Business Act 2003 to initiate wider engagement with stakeholders on the detailed proposals. Madam President, generally speaking, these amendments introduce minimum recognition and prudential requirements which are currently absent from Part 4. And they will also serve to better align the regulator's enforcement capabilities under this framework with international expectations. Madam President, the key highlights of the amendments are as follows. Recognition requirements. Madam President, the bill clarifies the eligibility requirements for recognition of investment exchanges and clearinghouses. Currently, Part 4 does not specify that recognized bodies must be domiciled and operate within Bermuda. This bill will therefore clarify and distinguish the limited scope of Part 4 when compared to the rest of the Act by specifying that recognized bodies must be incorporated or domiciled in Bermuda. Madam President, at present, under Section 7.1 of the Act, the authority may issue a recognition order if an applicant satisfies the requirements for recognition established by the Minister of Finance. This bill provides for amendment within Part 4 to replace that recognition order with a recognition certificate also issued by the authority where an applicant has satisfied certain recognition requirements. The objective of this change is to conform this recognition instrument with the type of instruments issued by the authority under similar frameworks. Establishment of prudential standards. Madam President, one of the main pillars of effective prudential supervision is ensuring the ongoing safety and soundness of financial services firms by monitoring their solvency and liquidity over time. This bill therefore introduces the ability for the authority to issue rules establishing minimum prudential standards for recognized bodies with a focus on capital and liquidity requirements. Under such rules, recognized bodies will be newly required to report their capital and liquidity positions to the authority on a semi-annual basis to allow the regulator to monitor compliance with those minimum requirements. Introduction of enforcement powers. Madam President, the bill will provide the authority with powers to enforce the various requirements within the Act, which pertain to recognized bodies. The enforcement powers provided for in the bill will facilitate information gathering, investigation, and disciplinary capabilities where it is determined that a recognized body has breached or suspected of breaching the requirements of the Act, and those powers will be executed in a manner consistent with other frameworks administered by the authority. Madam President, included among those new enforcement powers is the right of the authority to give directions to a recognized body if such directions are deemed to be in the best interest of the jurisdiction, including for the preservation of Bermuda's financial stability. Madam President, the bill will make provisions for the authority to approve a recognized body's market and listing rules, regulations, and/or bylaws. A recognized body will be required to submit proposed new or amended market and listing rules to the authority for written approval before they are enacted. This represents a strengthening of the existing requirement in Section 73 for recognized bodies to simply notify the authority where they alter or revoke rules or guidance, or where they make new rules or issue new guidance to the market. Madam President, the bill also introduces a requirement for every recognized body to appoint an auditor to conduct financial audits in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Furthermore, it establishes a duty for auditors to communicate certain matters that they become aware of during the course of audits to the authority. Those matters include, but are not limited to, when an auditor identifies a material misstatement in a recognized body's financial statements, has doubts about the ability of a recognized body to continue as a going concern, or identifies material internal control weaknesses or fraud. The details of those matters, which should be reported to the authority, will be codified within a new set of regulations following the enactment of the Act. Annual audited financial statements. Madam President, the bill further requires each recognized body to submit annual audited financial statements to the authority no later than 120 days after its year end. Those financial statements must be prepared in accordance with accounting standards recognized by the authority. Madam President, currently, Part 4 of the Act allows the authority to waive or modify a requirement for a recognized body in respect of specific matters, of which it would ordinarily be obligated to notify the authority under Section 73. Madam President, to introduce even more flexibility within the framework for operators, the bill extends this facility to permit the authority to grant a waiver or modification in relation to any rule or requirement applicable to recognized bodies under the Act, either where a recognized body has applied for such consideration or otherwise, as the authority determines appropriate. The authority already has ability to consider and grant such waivers under other frameworks, including under the newly enhanced framework for supervision of investment business firms. Control and ownership requirements. Madam President, the bill will establish a requirement for mandatory reporting of changes in controllers or officers within 14 days of the recognized body being aware of such a change. This requirement aligns Part 4 of the Act with the remainder of the Act in terms of the responsibilities and obligations of licensed and registered persons under the wider investment business supervisory framework to report on such changes. Madam President, the bill also requires any person seeking to obtain new or increased control of a recognized body to provide notification of such intention to the authority. Specifically, written notification must be provided regarding the proposed new or increased control of a 10% or greater shareholding of any recognized body. This requirement will bring Part 4 into alignment with the remainder of the Act and is also consistent with other frameworks administered by the authority. Madam President, the bill will further permit the authority the ability to issue an objection to proposed new or increased control of a recognized body in circumstances where persons do not satisfy specific criteria within the Act. This requirement will prohibit a proposal for new or increased control from taking effect until such time as the authority has provided a written no objection or after 90 days from the date of notification in cases where the authority has not issued a no objection. Madam President, the bill furthermore grants the authority ability to issue a written notice of objection to an existing controller of a recognized body if such persons are no longer deemed to be fit and proper by the authority. Under these proposals, the authority will be required to provide preliminary notice of and reasons for the issuance of a formal objection to an existing controller. As customary under similar frameworks administered by the authority, a recognized body will have the ability to provide written representation to respond to a preliminary notification, and that written representation will be considered by the authority before a final decision is made on whether a formal objection is deemed necessary. Power to restrict the sale of shares. Madam President, in a move to further align Part 4 with similar powers in other frameworks, the bill also grants the authority the power to restrict the sale of shares of a recognized body in line with international expectations. Madam President, the bill newly introduces the ability for the authority to charge a fee to persons applying for recognition, as well as an annual fee for retaining that recognition status and being supervised by the authority. The amounts of each of those fees will be determined following separate consultation with the industry and will be set commensurate with the level of supervision required for recognized bodies. Other changes related to supervision of investment businesses. Madam President, while the primary objective of this bill is to introduce changes to strengthen oversight of investment exchanges and clearinghouses recognized under Part 4 of the Act, the bill also captures minor changes to other sections of the Act pertaining to supervision of investment businesses. These include the following: clarification of the required standards for auditing and for preparation of financial statements of investment providers, consolidation of the minister's order-making ability to designate non-registrable persons within a single provision, as currently this power is referred to within two separate sections, that is 13.1 and 13D. Consequential amendment of the fourth schedule of the Bermuda Monetary Authority Act 1969 to correct references within paragraphs 1C and D under the Investment Business Act section to align with and reflect 2022 updates, and other minor wording amendments to clarify requirements which will remain unchanged. Regulations and rules. Madam President, while the majority of framework changes are being made within the primary legislation, I am pleased to advise that this bill will be accompanied by two sets of regulations, namely the Investment Business Recognized Bodies Qualification Requirements Regulations and the Investment Business Recognized Bodies Reporting Accountants Fact and Matters of Material Significance Regulations. Madam President, the first of those regulations addresses the qualifying criteria for recognition under the framework, while the second outlines in detail the matters of material significance which auditors and accountants of recognized bodies which will be obligated to report to the authority. Madam President, the regulations are subject to the negative resolution procedure, and I intend to publish and lay them in the Senate in the near future, in the House and the Senate in the near future. Madam President, as complement to those regulations, the authority will also issue a new set of rules, the Investment Business Prudential Standards Recognized Bodies Rules, to outline minimum capital and liquidity requirements for recognized bodies. Madam President, I would like to note the various changes being introduced in this bill and its supporting instruments will together ensure regulatory architecture for recognized bodies in Bermuda remains appropriate and in line with the international expectations, and in so doing facilitates greater effectiveness in the authority's administration of that framework and reinforce Bermuda's position as a leading international financial services center. Madam President, presently there are 49 persons licensed as standard investment business providers. Additionally, since the framework was amended in 2022, the authority has registered 21 investment providers as Class B registered persons. The total number of registered persons is expected to increase in short order as the authority determines additional applications. Madam President, I wish to express my sincere thanks to the authority, the regulatory unit within the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and the private sector for their assistance with the development of this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Ariana Hudson, Junior Minister for Finance. Would any senator care to speak on this bill? Senator Robin Tucker, Opposition Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the Junior Minister for bringing this amendment, this bill to this chamber today. It makes several necessary updates to some of the requirements set out in the Investment Business Act 2003. Having good regulatory rules in place is what we do well, and it's paramount to retaining Bermuda's reputation as a stellar financial jurisdiction. It's our view that the bill largely is about housekeeping, and so, Madam President, the opposition has no objection. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Robin Tucker. Senator John White, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank the Junior Minister for bringing this bill forward to the Senate. I view this bill as being largely cosmetic and administrative in nature. It provides further clarification to the previous act. It updates to modern standards, which is very important to keep Bermuda at the forefront of the world understanding and respect for this jurisdiction. And I'm not aware of any stakeholders that are opposed to these real changes, so I'm fully supportive of this bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator John White. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? Senator Hudson, it appears you have full support. It's over to you.
Music to my ears, Madam President.
And I'm sure to the
And so, Madam
members from the
President,
DMA.
definitely, I move that the bill entitled the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that Standing Order 26 be suspended in respect of this bill.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill entitled the Investment Business Amendment Act 2024 be now read a third time.
Is there any objection to the third reading? No objection.
Madam President, I move that the bill do now pass.
It has been moved that the bill entitled Investment Business Amendment Act 2023 do now pass. Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. The bill is passed. Thank you very much, Senator Ariana
Yes,
Hudson, and to all senators who support the bill. Moving on with our orders of the day, item number 14, motions. There are none. Item number 15, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches. Would any senator care to speak? Senator John White, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to offer condolences to the family of the late Judy Simons. I know Judy was a very well known, lovely lady in this community, and obviously, incredibly important to the success of the Bermuda Olympic Association, but also to the broader sporting community and community at large in Bermuda. She was a lovely lady who I've known for many years, beautiful smile, and certainly the news of her passing was very tragic and sudden. And so I would like to offer condolences to her family. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator John White. Would any other senator care to speak? Senator Dill, Minister Dill, you have the floor. Reverend Dr. Emily Dill, you have the floor.
Thank
Senator.
you. Thank you, Madam President. My apologies. As well as a Carifta champion. And many people knew Bessie. Her work and her contribution to sports has been highlighted in recent years, and she too will be missed. Another individual that has passed from labor to reward is Mr. Calvin Ming. He was a former Salvation Army officer, but he was also one who worked in the prison services, and he was very committed to work in addiction recovery and ensuring that Bermuda stayed fully abreast, and he advocated for the implementation of many programs that were able to help addiction addicts who were in recovery. I believe that he also served as president of the National Alcohol and Drug Agency, and on many other boards. He represented Bermuda very well, and he will be missed. As I sit here today and just thinking about the many lives who have and those who have passed on. Another individual is Mr. Charles Simons. Many of you will remember him. He was, if you ever went to Masters, he was one of the employees who would always go above and beyond with a smile to be able to help you to find whatever it is that you wanted, no matter what department you could ask Charles, and he would find it for you. So he too will be missed, and we offer our condolences to his family. Mr. Quentin Williams, who was a carpenter and one of the former dockyard workers. That's an individual. I believe Mr. Williams was over 90 years of age, but he was also he was a member of our church, Allen Temple, and he is an individual that had loads of wisdom and will be deeply missed. Last but not least, I'd like to offer condolences to the family of Mrs. Malvina Robinson. She was a seamstress and tailor by trade. She and her brother, the late Honorable Stanley Morton, developed a business many years ago that served our community for a very long time. She was also a woman of wisdom, genuine love and support and encouragement to young people, and she will be deeply missed. On a happier note, I would like to congratulate the Ministry of National Security, who very recently we had the pleasure of welcoming 8 new corrections officers and 4 new customs officers to the Ministry of National Security and those respective departments. I had the opportunity to go to the passing out ceremony for the corrections officers, and it was extremely heartwarming to see the family members that were there supporting and celebrating this significant milestone as these individuals step to the front to be a part of protecting and serving our people and ensuring that we have a safe community. So we congratulate the Ministry of National Security, the Department of Corrections and Customs, and we certainly encourage other Bermudians who have a desire to serve this country to step forward and become a part of those teams. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Reverend Dr. Emily Dill. Would any other senator care to speak? Senator Dwayne Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to do a congrats to Miss Denise Carey and the charity Home, her team, and steering committee for bringing forward their proposed plan to end homelessness. So I feel like it's an extremely commendable initiative. And I was able to sit and listen to her presentation and her passion, Miss Carey's passion for the tackling and ending of homelessness and even working with the homeless is to be commended. And her entire team seem to be equally as passionate and have set themselves up in a nice location and have been able to begin the process of implementing their plan. And I would like to congratulate them on all the hard work and working in conjunction with government and all other stakeholders in ensuring that that plan comes to fruition and to encourage Bermudians to support them in that endeavor because homelessness affects all of us. So thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Robinson. Would any other senator care to speak? Minister Darrell, you have
Ma-
the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I'd first and foremost like to start on a sad note by offering condolences to a few families. First, the family of Mr. Roger Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool was laid to rest a few weeks ago, and send condolences to his wife, Miss Barbara Vanderpool, his daughters, Marcia Bradshaw and Miss Sherry Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool was part of my life growing up as a young man. He was good friends with my father. They used to work together on occasion at the old Tongue Gate. But his full-time profession was a prison officer. So he did work at the Department of Corrections. And in his spare time, I do know that he was a sharp dresser, loved sharp cars, and enjoyed the sport of tennis. And in his more recent years, you would have seen Mr. Vanderpool as a taxi operator, servicing the tourists of this country. So I want to send condolences to the family of Mr. Vanderpool. Also, yesterday or Monday, I believe it was, Miss Phyllis Simons was laid to rest, also affectionately known in our community as Aunt Twiggy. And If you would have known Miss Simon, she was the godmother to many in the community, as well as some of my prominent PLP colleagues. She was very well known, very popular, and I would like to wish her family members and all associated with her condolences. And on the final sad note, I would like to send condolences to the family of Miss Tremaine Smith. I met Miss Smith many years ago when I first entered the realm of education. She was an educator, and she also had many friends in education. So we spent um, some hours and sometimes socializing as educators tend to do outside of the classroom. So I was shocked to hear of her passing recently, and I wish condolences to her family and her friends. On a positive note, a more happy note, Madam President, I'd like to, and there's always, and I'd like to say this, there are always many achievements in the world of sports, but I'd like to highlight these two individuals today. Miss Caitlin Bobb, who is a sprinter. You would have known that Miss Bob was recognized last year at the Department of Sport and Recreation's annual sports awards, and she recently set new mark in the 500 meters indoor meet. And while the headline says that she had mixed feelings, I just want to tell her that we are behind her. Congratulations for the record, and we are looking for continued great things and success from Caitlin in her sprinting pursuits. And also, Madam President, you would have seen yesterday that Miss Emma Harvey is over in Doha, and she's a swimmer and she's breaking national records as she has been doing for some time in recent times. Miss Harvey was recognized by also um, as an elite athlete by the Department of Sport and Recreation, and she recently broke um, national record at the World Championships in Doha. So we're looking forward to her as she, and other elite athletes in Bermuda get ready and get prepared to qualify for the Olympics and put their best forward to represent Bermuda in not only the Olympic Games, which are coming up this summer, but any other games in lead up to that. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Minister Darrell. Would any other senator care to speak? No, hearing none, then I would just like to associate myself with the condolences that have been expressed by Reverend Dr. Emily Dill on the Mr. Joseph Sinclair Richards, the former Chief Education Officer, and also to Mr. Calvin Roosevelt Ming, the former Salvation Army band leader and prominent drug addiction counselor, whom I had the opportunity and pleasure of working with in the 70s and 80s. I would also like to extend condolences to the family of Mrs. Brigitte Bitten Dill, the mother of Karen Johnson, Patrick, and his wife Carrie, as well as Bishop Nicholas Dill. And I had a very close relationship with her when she worked at King Edward Hospital. So I would just like to express condolences to the family. I'd also like to express condolences to the family of Rodman Endicott Pierman Woolrich, who just recently passed. And I knew his sister Debbie, who worked at the hospital at Maui for quite a number of years. And he was, it's just sad because it was a sudden death on his part. Um, I would also like to now move on to congratulations. And so I like to, on behalf not only of myself, but I'm sure the entire Senate body, congratulations are extended to Chief Justice Larry Mussenden on his well-deserved appointment as Chief Justice of Bermuda. And I'd also like to extend congratulations to the Bermuda College on their articulation agreement with Troy University in Alabama. This was organized by MP Kim Sworn, who had attended the university years ago and who was ably supported by the U.S. Consul General in Bermuda, Consul Karen Grisette. A dinner reception for the visitors was held by them at the home of former Justice Norma Wade Miller. And on a final note of congratulations, I would, and you'll have to bear with me on this because I think it's important when people are recognized for what they do in a community. And so, congratulations are extended to the Somerset Cricket Club for the recognition of 10 women in the Somerset area last week. And these included, and bear with me because I would like to acknowledge each of them. So the first one is Matilda Baxter, who is posthumously, she had a restaurant business in Somerset. And so they recognized her. Anita Cross for education, Rose Hart for sports and softball, Isola Harvey for the progressive group, Cheryl Martins for the pharmacy and HM customs work that she did, Myrtle Parenchi for the community, Lucinda Pearman for public service, Lynette Rayner for her religion, and Gloria Smith for the restaurant business, and Cecily Snate Simmons, good friend of mine, for nursing. And finally, the Honorable Kim Wilson for her her work in politics. So all these women then were recognized, and I would just like to congratulate the Somerset Cricket Club for doing that for them. And with that, we come to the final item on our agenda, and that is adjournment. Minister Darrell, over to you.
Thank you, Madam President. And shall I dare say we had a quick session today.
Certainly.
But I'd like to ask that this Senate be now adjourned until Wednesday, March 13th.
Thank you. Would any senator care to speak on the motion to adjourn? Yes, Senator Robin Tucker, opposition leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be very short. I really just want to talk about something that we saw in the headlines last summer. And that has to do with the excessively long probate delays leaving beneficiaries waiting. So, unless I missed it, Madam President, we've seen no update on the progress that has been made to improve the processing times for probate applications. And at last report, probate processing those probate applications was well over a year behind. And the key reason that had been identified was it was due to staffing delays, staffing shortages. And so, it would be good to know whether there has been any steps to address those um, staffing shortages in terms of hiring and also training people in order to bring about improvements and speeding up the processes for processing the probate applications. As I understand it, currently processing probate applications could take anywhere between 12 and 18 months. And from what I understand, that's relatively average. Whereas some time ago, it was around 9 months, which is still a long time, but certainly not as bad as 12 to 18 months. So I wanted to talk about that in particular because I'm looking at it more so from the point of view of how the families will be feeling. Imagine a spouse makes a will and they're doing it to ensure that after their passing, that that the surviving spouse is taken care of when they pass away. And certainly, if the deceased spouse's name is on everything, the house, the bank accounts, and so on, how then does the surviving spouse, let's say the surviving spouse has a young family, how are they, to pay school fees and things when the bank account, they can't access the funds in the bank accounts and things? And then also when we consider seniors who, again, the spouse has passed away, that has passed away, the name of the house is theirs. Sorry, in that deceased spouse's name and the bank accounts. How do the seniors then survive day to day and meet their other financial commitments? So, looking at it from the family's point of view, Madam President, I have to to wonder whether any attempts, or maybe I should be asking what attempts have been made to do the staffing, to bring up those staffing levels, to get the training done, so that we can reduce some of the suffering and the burdens that families are having to bear as a result of these delays. And again, I think that the matters need to be looked at through the eyes of those most affected, those surviving family members. 12 to 18-month wait times are quite ridiculous. And the impact to those families having to wait, and in some cases, there have been indications that in some cases, families have had to wait a couple of years. And frankly, that's unacceptable. We should, as a country, in my mind, we should, as a country, feel embarrassed that we have such extensive wait times and that we allow families who experience loss already to go through further suffering by delaying the probate process. So, Madam President, with that, I want to say that we can and we need to do better. So, I would look forward to at some point there being an update as to where things are, and hopefully that update speaks to significant improvements being made. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Robin Tucker, Opposition Leader. Would any other senator care to speak on the motion to adjourn? Senator Robinson, Dwayne Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And I too will be brief. As we know, in Bermuda, we have a very serious population crisis, and it's not something that has just happened overnight. It's not laid at the feet of the particular administration right now. It's been something that's tracked back and been progressing for a long time. But I believe we need to be the generation that puts a stop to it and actually gets up and tries to mitigate this crisis. And I think it needs to stay at the forefront of our minds because it affects everything from entrepreneurship to the local economy. And the point that I would like to focus on regarding this, as we all have heard numerous people speak on the population crisis and what has caused it, but the part that I would like to focus on today is immigration, and that's with an E, not an I. I know my thick accent, sometimes I say I instead of E, but immigration is the portion that I would like to focus on. And for us to have an 8,000 person hurl in our working population, and with Britain's 2021 census saying that it's 5,821 usual residents of England that were born in Bermuda, is something that I think should trigger us to want to do more robust research, more robust polling of our people who are leaving, and those who are at risk of leaving as well, because it's for us to say we have $8,000 hurl in our working population and we aren't really polling who's leaving. That 8,000 number could balloon if, let's say, 2,000 Bermudians move away in the next 2 to 5 years. So I think we need to be more robust in our tracking of Bermudians who are departing, and see if we can get some more communication and more connection with the diaspora that is overseas, because we've seen them come to our aid in previous occasions with someone like Dr. Karika Weldon, who came back during COVID, who was overseas and had expertise that could help the island. So I feel like, it was something that was a departure form that used to be done. I'm not sure if that is still done, so correct me if I'm wrong if it is. But the more data we can collect on our people who are overseas, and working with our overseas partners and direct jurisdictions to figure out how many Bermudians are in Canada, are in the UK, are in America, and see if we could cater our repatriation efforts to them, because we don't really know why they left. This is an issue that's talked about frequently in the community, people moving away, people up and going to England, whole families moving away, but we don't really have the specifics as to why people have moved. We're assuming, and I think it would help if we knew how many of our people were overseas, what percentage of them are students, what percentage of them are retirees, and that would help us cater our repatriation efforts. Because if we have a population of people overseas that are students, and we know it's let's say the diaspora is 10,000, 20,000 Bermudians, and we know 5,000 of them are students. We could be targeting those students with repatriation efforts and job placement efforts to bring them back after they finish their degree. So it's just little things that government could be doing in this space to not only look to reform immigration to bring other people outside of Bermuda back, but also focus on emigration so that we know where our people are and where we can draw from that resource. Because right now, when they go away, they rarely have any connection to Bermuda. There's no absentee ballots for people who may still have homes here, who may still have parents here. You know, it's no registration for them. So that would be a quick way for us to tell how many people are still invested in Bermuda overseas, and how many of our people are still looking at what's happening in the island and how we can entice those folks to come back. So it's it's just a matter of us assessing problems and putting out numbers without any real statistics, any real insight into those problems to actually effectively address them, right? So it to me, this transcends politics or any particular party. It's the future of our island. It's the future of our children. And all of us in the chamber hear these things when we canvass. We hear it when we're out. We hear about folks moving away when we go to get our groceries. So it's not a matter of not knowing what's happening or accepting what's happening. To the government's credit, they have accepted that we have a population crisis. But it's no way we can address that if we aren't even sure how many people are leaving or what amount of people are leaving and how frequently they're going. So for me, I just would call on just us to put together a robust framework as an island. So let's even take the party out of it. As an island, we need to put together a robust framework of tracking when our folks are moving overseas, who is overseas, and when we go, we can then interact and set up various functions in America and Canada for that diaspora, and maybe just maybe if we can pull back even 10% of our people, it will be 10% more than we had yesterday, right? So I also support and echo the calls I heard from him with a housing inventory and an inventory of our derelict buildings, because that is also a big like percentage of why our people are immigrating. And if we can have a housing stock, then we know how to address our housing crisis. Right now, again, government is attempting to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but it's not really it's not going to benefit the island if we're not working towards a goal that is backed by numbers and things that actually exist. So for me, I just wanted to highlight that because in my opinion, if we continue to politicize it, if we continue to dig our heels in the sand and watch, as we have watched for several generations, this problem persist, I believe that we may reach a point, as the Minister of Economy and Labor has already stated, of unsustainability in our island. And that's something that I know all of us would hope to prevent, even if we do have ideological differences. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Dwayne Robinson. Would any other senator care to speak on the motion to adjourn? Hearing none, seeing none, then senators, we've come to the end of our session and we will meet again on March the 13th. Senate stands adjourned. Thank you for your presence and work this